He was an entrepreneur at Daimler, Eaton, and General Electric. He's been employee number 1 in a new business unit and one of the leaders in a company of 275,000. His teams have worked on breast scanners, cardiac monitors, self-guided bombs, nuclear reactors, programmable logic controllers, sensors, semiconductor processing equipment, radar systems, engines, transmissions, brakes, telematics, and human interface devices. I could listen to you talk about one of those for an hour, so I don't know how you're going to do it, but please welcome Paul Menig.
I went to the other session briefly and heard about bird brains. And I always thought they were small, but no, they're very much intelligent, and actually they have vocal patterns similar to us, which surprised me in the way they're doing learning, in automatic learning. We're going to talk a little bit about displays, the safety of displays for automotive applications. And I think you'll be interested to see some of the things. And many of you are students here, and so you're starting your careers. And I want you to know that your future is bright. It's going to take a little bit longer than some of you might think, though, to do it. So this is a rather boring truck that you see out on the road all of the time. But what I would tell you is don't ever stand in front of that truck while it's either stopping or it's getting started, because it has a lot of computers and wireless communications that are controlling it. It has all kinds of computers for stability control to individually brake each individual wheel. We've had that in the passenger cars, required by law since 2010. In trucks, it's actually just starting to become a law around the world now in 2015 in Europe, 2017 here in the United States. We have the wheel sensors for the stability, for the anti-lock brakes. That's been around since around 1997. Drive-by-wire and LiDAR systems are just coming into use. Radar system, though, has been around on trucks now for 20 plus years. I was working on one in around 1990, putting it into place on the trucks. So the truck is not just a simple little thing, and those people who think that all they have to do is order something on Amazon, they forget that they also still have to have it delivered by a truck to their home or to their grocery store. The reason it takes long, here's an example. I started working on automating a transmission for a truck in around 1985. Going over to a transmission company to try to tell them how to program software to create basically a 6-position robot that was taking your brain, your eye, your ear, your right hand, your right foot, and your left foot and trying to automate that so that you could shift the vehicle. It has taken more than 30 years. That was 85, so we're now over 30 years, and only 50% of the trucks go out of the factory right now with an automated mechanical transmission on it. It's still growing, but it takes a long time for technology, which is new and exciting, to get to the point of being really high volume production. This is a product that was introduced first in 2009. You should understand it really well, the bicycle guy, right? And when you're riding a bike in a contest, you want to do some drafting behind the people in front of you. The person in front is doing a lot more work than you are doing, and as a result, you want to do that. And as you're approaching a hill, you want to build up speed while it's easy to build up speed. You know you're going to lose it. And then when you get up here, you want to stop trying to fuel the vehicle so that you can take advantage of gravity to help you improve your speed. That was introduced thanks to GPS becoming popular and available on a public basis in the late 90s. And so that's been in the process. 2009, and there are still new product introductions by some of the vehicle OEMs and passenger car companies to begin offering this. So if you take that, last year we had 17.5 million passenger cars produced in the United States. Only a handful of them had this type of GPS-based technology in it. 1938, the Interstate Commerce Commission said that you can only drive so long. You can only be on duty a certain amount of time. Airplanes, same thing. You can only have a pilot or a crew agent on board for a certain amount of time, and then they have to rest. We've had the same rules in the trucking industry since 1938, and literally, it is still today a piece of paper. And you have to save that piece of paper, you mark it, and you say whether you're in the sleeper, whether you're actually driving, or whether you're on duty and doing something else, and you got 15-minute increments here for what you're doing. We've just passed a law to get rid of paper, and it's going to take until 2017 before we are taking and having tablets, phones, and other things that are electronically connected to the truck to be able to track this information. And of course, it'll have a little bit better type of screen. It will have cloud storage of information. So here we have something that's been around for a long time, and I'll bet none of you would have thought that somebody would be filling out a piece of paper in a truck in order to take care of this stuff. And there are people resisting it. There will still be court cases because there will be owner-operator drivers who will take this to the court of law and say, no, that's a privacy invasion. You can't force us to use electronics to keep track of our time. Trucks and cars and everything else need to move. Most of our infrastructure was built many years ago, and it's failing. So drones, then, this is a great application for it, is when we need to inspect bridges and things. So here's a short video that talks about how the Minnesota Department of Transportation just recently did a test in September of last year using drones with cameras for doing inspection purposes. A little more about it. Thank you. This is an application which is dangerous to people. It also can mess up traffic situations because you'll have cones on top and stuff. You might have somebody out there with a truck with a bucket on it in order to be doing the inspections. Now you can do it remotely and not interfere with traffic, I believe, and it'll be much, much safer to accomplish. You get a recording very easily of everything that you're doing. For me, this is the kind of thing that makes drones exciting. This is what they're going to be used for to improve our lives. Power lines for the smart grid people are also another great application. They're actually people who walk the lines. Those high power lines, people are actually walking them still, inspecting them. UPS and Amazon and DHL and FedEx are actually leaders in clean energy and technology, using electric vehicles, using fuel cell powered vehicles, using natural gas powered vehicles in order to deliver things. They've been able to do things as simply as just make right turns instead of left turns to be able to improve their productivity and save a lot of fuel. Where it's headed, though, is one of the suppliers to UPS is called Workhorse, and now take an electric vehicle that is that delivery vehicle and combine it with a drone so that you can do more than one delivery at the same time. And Workhorse did get one of the approved FAA licenses to be able to operate their drones in this experimental application. We're going to need that 15-pound limit that you got on that thing. So he's going to go off and make another delivery while the drone goes and makes its delivery. Doubling productivity. For those of you like playing video games on Friday and Saturday nights and drinking beer, you got a job flying these things. And a lot of that is great, but one of the things I'm doing with this particular thing, and for those of you who can't read it, it says self-driving. What we really need are self-loading trucks. What I'm going to encourage you to do, I agree with the first speaker, Rick, that most of you are not going to join Fortune 500 companies and go the path I did of working for General Electric, Eaton, and Daimler. You're going to do a lot of different startups. Find something that really needs to be solved that's going to make things better for humanity, and that's where you're going to find things. So, this is something that nobody's doing anything about right now. How do you properly load a truck and do it efficiently, quickly, with fewer people? With autonomous vehicles, they're going to come, and we're using them today. You may not realize it. When you get onto it, when I put my kids onto the school bus, I didn't know the school bus driver. I care less who it was, right? Somebody had somehow said it was okay, so I was willing to say, okay, take my kids to school, but I don't know who you are. I just got on a plane, last night, and the pilot, I don't know who that was. I didn't say fly me to Los Angeles. I did say Portland, please. Every day I get onto elevators, and I just push a button. None of you are old enough to remember there used to be a person on there that would run a rheostat in order to run that particular elevator. And so the truck, are you willing to say, take my freight to the shipper, to the consignee? Are you willing to take my kids to on the bus somewhere? I think you will be. And here's one of the payoffs. There's a study that was done just about a year ago. Here are a whole bunch of autonomous vehicles navigating a intersection, no lights, just communications between them. So, I know I'm going to close my eyes when this happens. Okay? All right. How about we get a little bit bigger intersection and do the same thing?
You will want to sleep.
But this is proof that the autonomous vehicles will save fuel. This is where it happens because they are able to navigate and negotiate this intersection better than we humans can with lights and other things. Right here in your own town is the largest truck manufacturer in the world, Daimler Trucks. And I was lucky enough to work there. It also happens to be a passenger car company. It's the only truck company that also has a passenger car company. That gives it access to a lot more technology than most have. For the display people, they took and used the Hoover Dam as their display, and they hit a world record that's in the Guinness World Record now for the number of lumens of light for a display that they did with this. They used that to introduce their autonomous vehicle for the United States called the Inspiration.
Just as hard on autonomous driving technology as the people once built this dam.
The state of Nevada gave them the first commercial license for an autonomous truck in the world. This was just earlier this year, I think.
Right here in America, we're introducing the world's first truck with an AB license plate. First autonomous truck on public roads ever, anywhere in the world. A vehicle to inspire our customers and the whole world, our Freightliner Inspiration.
So back to displays and the bird brain, for instance. One of the things that we still have to do is we do still have humans driving, and we need ways of communicating the situational awareness of the vehicle, of the traffic, as well as the vehicle itself. Here's a concept that's being done for motorcycles.
Introducing the concept of road safety. A revolution for your motorbike riders. Samsung presents the Smart Windshield. The first technological windshield that connects with your smartphone, so you can keep both hands on the handlebar. Thanks to its innovative technology, enables you to visualize the GPS navigator so you always know where to go, or who's calling so you can decide if you want to stop and answer, or send an automatic message to explain you're on the road. You can also use texting or emailing and receive many other notifications as well. From now on, to check your smartphone while out riding, you only need to look ahead. Samsung Smart Windshield, smartphone in your pocket, hands on the handlebar, more safety on two wheels.
If you ever go to a trade magazine online called Fleet Owner and you look at some of the blogs that I do there, you'll see that I would probably disagree with this because you still have cognitive needs for paying attention to the traffic situation. And if I instead bring my eyes and my brain to look at what's on the screen there, I now have lost what's going on. So there's still plenty of opportunity to take the health stuff and the technology stuff over here and meld them together into something that's going to work. I actually, as I think about it, I have not seen anybody talk about an autonomous motorcycle yet. So there's something that you can work at. Another big display, this time on the back end of a trailer. Ever been behind a truck on a 2-lane highway and wanted to pass? And you're driving to see if you can get past or not? And different things, here's the solution. Apparently in Argentina, it is a death-defying act to try to pass. People get killed. Untapped market potential, the back end of every trailer, to have a large screen TV. Camera in the front that is telling you what's going on so that you can see what's happening. And as you're seeing this wonderful video and hearing that music, as technologists, don't ever forget the human mind and the spirit and what it takes. And don't look down on the marketers, because they sell your technology the way you can't. You may be able to calculate it, but they're the ones going to sell it. Okay, I mentioned the bicycling, and then I got into the GPS. There's something called platooning that the Army has been interested in for at least 30 years, because 18 and 19-year-olds who drive trucks in the summer when they have the exercises end up falling asleep, doing whatever, and getting into accidents. What if you could instead have it platooning? This is the first real step for autonomous vehicles. It's been going on in Europe for more than 10 years now. There's a company here in San Francisco I've worked with for about 4 years now. That just got investments from Volvo and several other companies, Toyota I think it was. And about 6 months ago, Europe put together a program. It's a little bit longer video, but there is savings to be had when you platoon 2 trucks. You can make them closer together than you could in any other fashion, and you get fuel savings from the truck in front because it's drafting with the vehicles behind, and then the truck behind also saves some fuel.
The road transport network is currently saturated. Consumer demands are increasing ever more, and this strains our infrastructure to its limits. The solution? Truck platooning. Autonomous trucks communicating to each other, creating next-generation mobility. With our transport network being the spine of our economy, we need to make logistics and mobility more efficient, without the need to build a more extensive road system. Consequently, in 2015, the concept of the Truck Platooning Challenge came to life. Starting with its kickoff on October 7th, 2015 in Bordeaux during the ITS conference. A multidisciplinary approach between governments, industry, authorities, and research institutions that resulted in a unique journey to realize cross-border truck platooning for the first time in history. Here, the first framework was laid out. This framework was further developed during the next level meeting in Rotterdam. A visit to the landing location of the Truck Platooning Challenge at the APM terminal materialized the challenge at hand. Which was successfully finalized during the second next level meeting in Brussels.
One thing this highlights as it's going through there is the involvement of government. Not only do we have privacy issues with a lot of technology that we're dealing with, but we also have legal issues.
Stakeholders work together to overcome a complex process of legislation between all participating countries and figured out the best routes for all truck platoons to the landing location on the Mars float.
So it is an actual operation just less than a month ago. Here are multiple platoons. Unfortunately, they didn't have interoperability among the different manufacturers. So DAF, Iveco, Mercedes, Volvo, they each had their own set of 2 or 3 trucks that were platooning. So this has a driver in it, and that has somebody just sitting there doing nothing. Watching the steering wheel. Able to make 90-degree turns and everything else. Note the extra lights and stuff. There's a whole nother set of research going into how do you tell the rest of the world that you're an autonomous vehicle and have it in a standardized way. Believe it or not, it's only 100 years ago that we decided that red means stop and green means go for traffic lights. And now we're trying to get rid of them entirely. Everything that you're going to do as you develop in technology is either to find some way to do something more or to do something less. I heard about less weight a few times today. I heard about things being done a little bit more fast, if you will, for better prices, less price. To be able to make it faster, to make it safer, more comfortable. Those are all the things that you're going to do. So it's not more or less. Your life and the career in technology is going to be based on making things more and less at the same time. It takes a long time, and Peter, you just put up the nice little chart showing time versus acceptance. Well, there's another organization called Gartner that comes up with a hype cycle, and there's something called Crossing the Chasm, a famous book, that talks about the fact that technology, yes, there's the market penetration, but it gets real exciting for a period of time, and then, oh shit, nothing's going to happen. Okay? Then you were here about a year and a half ago when the FAA said, no way are you guys going to ever do autonomous. And now, rebirth. We're going to have something. DOT, we're going to do something with automated vehicle legislation in the future. And so the problem is it takes a long time. You know, we talk about the iPhone a couple of times today. 2006, that was the watershed year, 10 years ago. Well, wait a minute. I had a Microsoft Windows 3E telephone 10 years before that. So, you know, cell phones started in 1980 and earlier. So if you go through a lot of things, other than, say, Groupon and a few of these social networks, you're going to find that You've got a long and wonderfully exciting career to make things more or less so that you can get to where it is really more in the future. And this is what it looks like from where you're sitting. Okay? Here's that first little hill of excitement. There's a valley right below it with a chasm that you're going to have to cross until you hit that peak of production, productivity, and fun, and you get to retire with gray hair like I have. You've had a lot of fun. Thank you.